Now it's time to deal with tools of formal assessment. The methods of gathering assessment information discussed in the early video are generally informal, as you know. Extra care has to be taken by the educator to check upon the information to be objective, unbiased, reliable and valid. Hence, the need for formal assessment methods to record and document the information came into being. And now, let us move on to the tools of formal assessment. At the end of this video, you will be able to comprehend the methods of formal assessment in collecting information and evidence of a child enrolled in early learning center. The most important methods of the formal recording of information are descriptive records, frequency counts, checklists, rating scales and rubrics, and then portfolio. And let us see each of them in detail. Descriptive records are otherwise called as narrative records. It is defined as attempts made by the educator in recording a detailed explanation of a situation or an event involving the child. Though the definition seems to be very similar to observation, the main difference is that the event or situation is registered in the descriptive record of that particular child. Unlike observation, the descriptive record also should focus on the behavior to be observed rather than implying judgment. For example, for a narrative record, the right recording can be: Naresh scribbled on Ravina's worksheet, kicked the building blocks, pushed Alice down and threw the crayons. Whereas a wrong recording could be: Naresh was so aggressive in class today. Few of the narrative records that can be used effectively in an early learning centers are given to you now. One is anecdotal records. They are nothing but anecdotes. It's a short description of an event or incidents that involve one or more children. For example, during a story session, Alex was observed to be disinterested in the story, turned aside from the group, looking at the displayed things and was speaking to himself. The educator, after completing the story to the group, repeated the story only to Alex by making him sit beside her. The child not only listened to the story attentively but also raised doubts. This record made the educator realize that Alex needs one-to-one communication for effective learning. The second method is through running record. It is much like a diary and the events are recorded chronologically. After a period of noting down the behavior or the performance of a child in the record, the educator can compare, analyze and report the improvement of a particular behavior. For example, the educator observes Dolly of not interacting with others on the first day of her class. The educator keeps a running record of this behavior of Dolly for 2 weeks and reads the record after the specified period. She is really surprised at observing the child's improved social interactions, but also have a record gave an input that Dolly tends to wait and observe people before getting involved with them. Then it should be in the form of videotapes, audio tapes or digital photography. These are important recording evidence that gains popularity in capturing candid behaviors or performances of children. Moreover, the digital evidence gives information of all children involved in a group activity when the educator herself is a participant. Example, in an organized game session. The second method of formal assessment is frequency count. It is otherwise called as event sampling. This type of recording can be used by an educator to know how many times in a day the child manifests a said negative behavior and track it if it is on the rise or declines. For example, look at the chart of the frequency count that records a crying behavior of Sanju. The educator makes a tally mark whenever Sanju demonstrates crying behavior for 1 week. If the frequency count declines, then the educator waits for 1 more week before planning an intervention. But the count in the chart doesn't show a decline. So the educator works out a strategic plan involving the mother of the child to improve his adjustment in the school environment. However, frequency count should always be accompanied by narrative records or checklist, as a tally marks does not indicate what happens prior to or after the behavior manifestation. Then comes checklist. It is not only the most commonly used recording method, but also a hands-on, resourceful tool that provides information about the child's progress in almost all areas. The checklist can be either formulated by the educator herself or from a published source. The educator needs to mark only yes or no in the checklist. However, the remark column of each statement or question can be filled in by the educator based on her observation related to the same. The most important limitations of checklist is that it cannot be used as an only source of gathering information. Then the most important tool of formal assessment is rating scales and rubrics. It is recording the judgment of an educator on the child's performance. This judgment can either be compared with the child's peer group or with a predetermined standard. A rating scale might rate the performance of a child to assess the milestone for a given task in a 3-point scale as follows. The scale may be a 3-point scale with items like making progress towards a set standard, meets the standard, and then the exceeds the standard. Rubrics is also a rating scale, but a descriptive one. This scale has got a clear description of each point on the scale. For example, look into the sample of rubrics on the social problem solving skill. Though both rating scale and rubrics are considered to be a quick and reliable way of keeping track of a child's performance, rubrics are more reliable as they provide a detailed description of the rating. Then the most important formal assessment tool is a portfolio. Now, hearing the term portfolio many a times, can you define the same and write it in your notebook? So, finish writing? Hope you got it right. Portfolio nothing but the child's work products and progress samples related to the curriculum outcomes being systematically collected and organized. Now, let us look upon the advantages of portfolios. Portfolios demonstrates a child's progress over some time. It provides concrete and meaningful evidence of a child to share with the parents and other stakeholders. The whole document that's called the portfolio can be passed on to the next teacher for continuous assessment. The document gathers evidence from multiple sources, that's work samples, performance sheets of the child, teachers' comments, observation remarks, photos and videos of the child, and parent observations. Hope the video had made you comprehend the 5 different types of formal assessment, namely the descriptive records, checklist, frequency counts, rating scales and rubrics, and that of portfolios. How are these formal assessments be used in gathering information would be dealt in the next section. Bye.